All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me. This is my third time to Mexico, my first time to Monterrey. And English is my second language. I'm originally from South Africa, so I guess we're here in the same boat because my English is not as good as yours. So we'll see how it goes. If you, for some reason, don't understand, just ask Nina because she knows everything. That's obvious. Today I'd like to talk to you about a number of different things, but first of all, I'd like to say how honored I am to be here tonight with Nina and with Practum Management Group. I got to meet Nina, I think it's more than 10 years ago now, and in New York City, right? And what a dynamic and amazing lady she is. With so much vision. And so when our organization had an opportunity to go global, I called Nina right away and I said, Nina, we're going global. Do you want to be part of it? And she says, I don't want to be part of it. I'm going to lead it. So, all right. And so we talked and we negotiated, and she said, I'd like to do Monterrey. And then she called back and she said, I'd like to represent Mexico. Is that okay? And I was like, that's fine. She called back the next day. She said, I'd like to do Latin America. Is that okay? And I said, that's okay. And then she called back and she said, would you mind if I do Spanish-speaking USA and Canada? I'm like, no, that's okay. And she called back later and she said, would you mind if I also do English-speaking USA and Canada? And I said to her, Nina, as far as your vision goes, I'm going to stand with you and we're going to support you to make that happen. My passion and the work that I do, and I've had the privilege of doing this in 63 different countries, is to take leaders to the next level. Now, it's an interesting thing if you grow up in South Africa. I know I get surprises every time I show my passport at a customs official, and they're like, you're from Africa? And I'm like, yes, I am. And I've had a couple times people rub the skin to see if it's real. But that's just the truth. I grew up in Africa, and I had the privilege in 1995 and 1994, 95 to be part of the integration between black and white youth in South Africa after Nelson Mandela became president. Now, I can tell you there were a couple of things that were very difficult at the time. One is I was white, which was just the wrong color to be at the time, to be a facilitator to integrate people. The second thing that wasn't working for me is my last name, Coetzee, is the same last name as the chief of police during apartheid, during the previous regime. So the moment I introduced myself, there was resistance in the room. So you can imagine to try and bring people together when there's so much resistance is a big task. And somewhere along the line, I've learned a few things about what takes people to the next level. How do you manage people through difficult circumstances to a positive outcome? A positive outcome in South Africa at the time was little to no bloodshed. Little did we know that within the 10 years after Mandela became president, the economy would turn around and more influence and more investment would come into South Africa than the 30 years prior all put together. Now, every country has its challenges, and the current president's got his work cut out for him. But what we had was an opportunity to rise up. And I remember when I moved from South Africa to Europe, that there was a part of me that was afraid, concerned that somehow, even though I knew that what I was doing was good, and even though I knew that I was pretty good at thinking through things, there was a part of me that was concerned that somehow the Europeans weren't going to think enough of me or think that I was somehow deficient. But that was a belief system I had. It wasn't the one that they had. And I had to rise to the occasion. And 12 years ago, when I moved to America, my only impression of American people was that they were loud. And then when I got to America, I found out I was right. They are loud, right? They're just kind of arrogant, in-your-face type people. I can say it. There's no Americans here, right? Are there? All right. Awesome. So let's talk about them. And I discovered, I had the illusion that every American person is a leader because I found out the American people who came to South Africa were strong personalities, but the general people in America were not as strong as I thought they were. And then the last 5 years, I've had the privilege of traveling into Latin America, and mostly to Brazil and mostly here to Mexico. And I have seen that there's an uprising of leaders. There's an uprising of leaders from Latin America that I believe will go around the world, that will change the world. For a long time, people have come here. I believe there will be a time that Mexico and Latin America will rise up, but you will also send people around the world. People around the world need you. They need your leadership. They need your innovation. But most of all, they need your spirit of making a difference. There's something about the Mexican culture. My friend, I have a friend of mine who works with me in America. He says, you know, you're the only African American with a white skin and a brown heart. So, you know, somewhere I think I did something right. But he says that there's something about the Mexican culture, and I feel like I don't know it and I don't understand it, but I feel like I'm discovering it. And so, with that, I'm honored to be here tonight to share with you some of the things that I discovered, just personally, but also about what I see happening around the world. So I'm going to do two things tonight. Can I take this out? Is that okay? I come from the church background, so it's very hard for me to stand behind that thing, so I'm going to move around a bit. It might annoy you, but then at least you'll stay awake. I want to talk to you about two things. I want to talk to you about the evolution of business leadership. And then I want to talk to you about a small blueprint of how to go to the next level for yourself. And there's a couple of trends happening in leadership today. And one of the things that I've discovered is that leadership is different around the world. One of the biggest exports out of America is leadership training. I'm one of them, right? We export out of America leadership development and you know, Peter Senge and all these guys, amazing good stuff that comes from Harvard, all those things. But what I've discovered is leadership is different. Where is it? There we go. Leadership is different around the world. Leadership is different here because leadership is not only your talent, but it's also your context. Understanding your context is just as important as being a talented and intelligent person. And one of the challenges is that American-style leadership does not work in every context. There are some principles and values that work anywhere. But unless you're able to navigate and understand your context, the leadership that gets fed to you from books and universities won't work. How many of you read one book this year? How many of you? All right. How many of you changed your life because of the book? All right, about 4 people, right? So books don't change the world. People do. You see, before it was the leader is the one who has most information. And then Google came and killed that whole thing. Because if you need information, you could just get it from Google. Now, you're not the leader because you're the most intelligent. You're the leader because you can read the context. You can understand timing. You can understand the situation right in that moment. And that's what makes leaders rise to the occasion, is their ability to see what's happening in the moment. And my question to you is, what is your moment? Why are you here tonight at this place? If it's not just by accident, and if it's not just for the free drinks or the nice view, right? Why are you here? What if this was not an accident? What if there was some type of divine setup that brought you here? What if somewhere in this room there was somebody that you had to meet that would take your business and even more, your legacy to the next level? You see, one of your challenges in this room here tonight is that you're successful. That's your biggest challenge. Because you could get infatuated with your own results rather than get committed to your vision. See, the biggest problem of good is that it's not great yet, right? We've all read that book. Building teams and being the star player is not sustainable. Lots of people, and especially in what we call emerging nations, right? In emerging nations, people build a company and they're the most intelligent people, the most talented person. But if you watch soccer, and I'm assuming most of you do, then you know you can't play a whole team with just one good player. You need a whole team of good players. And if you have one good player and everybody else is mediocre, everybody hates the good player, right? Because he's always keeping the ball rather than passing the ball. Now, my family is Dutch. My mother is a Dutch immigrant from Holland. So I'm going to make jokes about the Dutch football team, right? Because I can, right? One of the problems with the Dutch football team, up until recently, is that they have 80% possession of the ball, but they never score. They play great defense, but they don't score. You see, sometimes we believe that we're successful because we have possession of the ball. But you need to score. You need to get to the next level because you can't win the game by having the ball. You can only win the game by kicking the ball. And some of us here have had success. You have possession 80% of the time, but your scoreboard shows no results. And I'm here to call you, together with Nina and together with this group, to play a next level. And there's a way to get there. There's some really interesting things happening about understanding how the brain works and how you could actually learn new things. Many of us have heard that statement, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, now we have proof that you can. Your brain is able to do new things, but it does require certain ways of engagement. And through the work that you will get from Nina and from the Practum Management Group, these are going to be neuroscience-based stuff. This is going to be stuff that doesn't just make you think different, but it's actually going to provoke your brain to form new connections. You can actually do new things. And here's another new frontier of leadership. That you become the coach of the team. Many of you have successful people around you, but you're still the star player on your team. You haven't gotten to the place where you're able to bring other star players around you. And that's the next level of leadership, is when you are able to surround yourself with people who are more intelligent than you, more gifted than you, and still remain the leader. See, one of the biggest fears of what I call A-level leaders or lower-level leaders is that if I have somebody who's better than me, that they'll take over. But there's a way to lead a company where people are more intelligent than you and know more than you, and that's called coaching. That's when the vision drives where we're going rather than who has the most power. And understanding how to articulate and manage that vision is going to be the key to your success. Leadership is about transforming yourself. So, what's the difference between change and transformation? What's the Spanish word for change? Cambio. And what's the difference between cambio and transformación? All right, cambio. If I wanted to change or cambio the chair, what would I do? Pedro?
Paint it.
You could paint it, right? You could paint the chair. Or you could cut some of the legs off, and then it would be lower, but it would still be a chair. We could put a new pillow on it. We could put leather around it, but it would still fundamentally be a chair. Transformation is something different. Many of us bring change into our business. We paint the business. We put new people in, but we don't transform the organization. There's a huge difference between change and transformation. I'm going to show you transformation in a minute. One of the biggest challenges in leadership, I would say, in my experience of working with leaders around the world, there's two big things that keep people from the next level. And I'm going to talk to you about one of them. The one I'm not going to talk to you about is the one I'm going to leave Nina to talk to you about in the next few years. The number one thing that keeps people from the next level of success is how they deal with betrayal. We all go through times where people who said they were going to do something different. Where you expect a deal to go through and it doesn't go through. Where you expect somebody to pay you and they don't pay you. Where you expect a deal to open up and it doesn't open up. Or when you have a partner and he takes half of your business. Or when you have a partnership that you think is going to happen, then it doesn't happen. We all have betrayal in our life. And some of us even have self-betrayal. When you know you have an opportunity and you don't take it. I don't know how many of you have had that experience, right? One of the biggest challenges in our lives is the regrets we have. And the older you become, the more we usually have. When you know you had an opportunity and you didn't take it. And that amount of regret that lives there, right? Self-betrayal is the number one killer of possibility. And Nina's going to show you how to overcome it in the next year. Tonight I'm going to talk to you about the other big killer of possibility. It's success. One of the biggest challenges in leadership is when you're successful. When you're successful, you start believing your own fan mail and you start thinking that you are actually as great as other people say you are. When in reality, you know that there's more work to be done. One of the biggest challenges of success is what they call summit syndrome. And summit syndrome is when I reach the top of my game, the game changes. Because going up, I'm trying to reach the top. And when I'm at the top, I'm trying to keep other people away. While I'm rising up, I'm creating value. I have vision. I'm going somewhere. When I'm up there, vision goes down. And I'm trying to take as much as I can get. And when people rise to the top and they don't continually reframe winning, continually design a new vision for themselves, they get to a place where their own success becomes their demise. They go from being givers to becoming takers. And the moment that you become a taker as opposed to a giver, there's a conspiracy that goes around you and people try to take you out. And suddenly you go from playing offense to playing defense. You see, one of our biggest challenges is that everything about leadership tells you to become king or queen. And then when you become king, now you're trying to protect yourself. It's not that hard to become king or queen. It's much harder to stay king or queen. Because the moment that you rise to the top, you become a target. How many of you felt that before? Right? As soon as you rise up and you become a great leader, it seems like everybody's out to get you. How do you deal with that? I'm glad you asked. I'm going to show you exactly how. Right, now, what's the difference between change and transformation? Up there we have a Vespa, the ultimate vehicle for people in Italy. And if you were to change the Vespa, if you wanted to change it, this is what some innovative person could do. Isn't that fantastic, right? Awesome. Ultimately, it remains exactly the same as it was before. The purpose of the Vespa is to transport people. Change is something that you do on the outside, but fundamentally, the purpose of that thing remains the same. What's your purpose? What's your purpose? Why do you wake up every morning? Do you wake up every morning to keep your company together? Do you wake up every morning to answer every email or to make sure you get another deal? What's your purpose? What makes you tick? Transformation is when there's a shift in purpose. When you move from waking up every morning trying to be the boss to what Nina suggested, rather than trying to be the boss to become the servant. Rather than trying to be the one who leads from the top to become the one who empowers at the bottom and has other people rise up. To move from being a king to becoming a kingmaker. Now what's really interesting is I've discovered this afternoon that we are in Monterrey, and Monterrey means Mountain of the King. Now, isn't that special? Right? That's perfect. Here's transformation. Transformation is a shift in purpose. Come on. When you take the Vespa and you make it, its purpose is for something else. Now it's not for transport, it's for leisure. If you were to shift your purpose, what would it be? See, many of you, I would suggest, are kind of bored with where you are in life, except for Blanca. She's not bored at all. But other people. Because you've achieved a certain amount of success. And the way to not be bored is to get busy. And the problem with being busy is it's avoiding your true calling. If I asked you on a scale of 1 to 10 how busy you are, you would tell me 11. Right? Or 12. How many of you would say you're too busy already? How many? All right, some of you are not busy yet. Come and see me. I'll give you some work to do. Right? Come on. If I asked you, not how busy you are, but on a scale of 1 to 10, how many of you have reached your potential? And where are you on your potential? If your true potential, if you died one day and you said, I did everything I could do, I did it all, where are you right now? Are you living at a 5 or a 6? Maybe a 9? Where are you? You see, we confuse being busy with being purposeful. There's a big difference. I want to call you to being purposeful. What if this opportunity of Mexico's economy going to the next level, of the world opening up, of you having the world's richest billionaire come from your country, where you guys have the opportunity to lead the world. You see, I live in the 32nd state of Mexico, right? California. And so, I know, right? And I could tell you that there's a lot of leadership coming from here. What will you do? Where will you land in this process? Now, I'm not going to go into all of this because Blanca's got a lot more interesting stuff to say. But part of what I want you to know is, in order to change an organization and take your organization to the next level, you can't just do vision. Vision is important. Mission, core values, those are important things. And lots of people get companies to help them figure out that. And then companies go and they help them get a new brand and they help them develop leadership. But unless you transform the skills inside your organization, and unless you're able to understand context, which is the most important thing, all of that will just be a nice idea. Context means understanding the moment. Who's with you and why are they there? I want to introduce you to a model of leadership. This is the current model that most leaders around the world use. There's a leader. They find a few people that follow them, who think that they're wonderful. They become talented, and then they declare themselves to become king. Yay, successful, right? And their whole job is to keep other people at a servant level. Because they have to be the most intelligent person in the room. The king business model says, let me make myself very successful, and I work with my personal brand. Most of them, it's a lifestyle business. They're selling their time. They're trying to be successful, and they never have any time for anybody else but themselves and their own vision and their own growth. They get people to work for them that they can control. The most important thing is I have to keep control. And you also have to be the most intelligent person in the company, or you need to know where their family lives, right? So here's a new model, a kingmaker model. I call it round tabling. Now it's interesting because you're here all at a semi-round table, oval. The interesting thing about a round table is there's no head of the table. Everybody's at the same level. we get to share. The roundtable model says we can together do more than if we're separate. Now, this is not a novel idea. One of the oldest books about success in leadership and success in life was written by a guy called Napoleon Hill. How many of you have read that book, Think and Grow Rich? All right, if you haven't, you should. All right, and Napoleon Hill said, you should get into a mastermind group. You know what a mastermind group is? It means that when I'm together with 5 other people or 12 other people, the mind that we have together is greater than the individual minds separately. The problem with leaders today is they don't share because we're afraid of each other. We're afraid that if we get together, that somebody's going to steal our ideas. Or I'm even afraid that if I tell you what I'm really struggling with, that you would suddenly not respect me. Do you think people really don't know? We all know. What if you got together and you created a roundtable experience and you really shared and you stood in each other's lives and you learned how to coach each other? Imagine what you could do together. I found that out. Trying to build my organization by myself was going to take a very long time. But the moment that I partner with people who are incredibly visionary and talented and way beyond myself with regards to management capacity, then our organization is going to grow. And we could do much more together than we could do separately. Here's the ground rules for roundtabling. Know where you want to go. Why are you together? Clarify the point B of your roundtable. Have a timeline for results if you're going to be together. Have ground rules for engagement. Now, I'm going through this real fast, but in the next year, Nina's going to explain all of this to you, so you don't have to worry about it. And in Spanish, which is going to be better, right? And make the round table exclusive and requiring participation. Now, here's what I want you to know. If you're going to do a KingMaker model inside your company, you've got to find people inside your company that you know are successful. Everybody here in this company, in this room knows somebody in your company who's really intelligent, and if you don't capture them soon, they're going to leave and start and become your competition. Right? How many of you have had that happen? Right? You've lost people, and they were good people, and you were afraid to talk to them, or you had a judgment about them. They're just after money. They're trying to be better than me. All that crap you tell yourself, and then boom, all the things you said actually happen. But what if you actually called them together and said, hey, you know what? I recognize that you're gifted and you're strong. Here's the vision. Let's see if we can do something together. And you give them an opportunity. Of course, there's ground rules, and of course, there's ways to do that. But recruit expert people. I'm sure Blanca could tell you that the people in her company are all experts. Here they are, right? Establish an agreement and ground rules. If you're afraid of something, it will happen. So make sure you make the ground rules clear. Here's how we work together. And if you step outside of us, this is the consequences. So just make ground rules clear. Measure engagement. Encourage people to take risks. I can tell you, in America, people are so afraid of taking risks. It sounds un-American. But it's what happens when people move into survival. When a country goes, and I don't know how it's happened here because I haven't had enough conversations, but I can tell you this is what happened in America in the last 5 years. People went into survival and they stopped risking. I call it playing not to lose. It's like the Dutch soccer team. They kick the ball to everyone on their team, but never into the goal. Playing not to lose. You're committed. You're tired at the end of the day. You played the whole game. You tell yourself you're busy, but you're not scoring. You have to move from playing not to lose to playing to win. When people achieve, honor them. So here's a roundtabling for external. Around the world, there's a whole wave of peer group coaching, peer group expressions happening. And part of that is starting here tonight and is experiencing here tonight. This is what Nina is launching, is an opportunity for you to be in each other's world, to coach each other to success. It's going to be amazing. As long as history has been there, there's always been exclusive leadership clubs among wealthy people. It used to be the country club, then the golf club, then this. What do you think they shared there? Yeah, some crazy secrets and some stupid stuff they did together, but most of the time they started doing business together. In this room are people who could take your business to the next level if you just didn't play not to lose, but you started to play to win. The invitation and the purpose of the group determines the expression. What Nina invited you here to tonight is a wave of leadership that's about serving people to change the world. If that vision's not big enough for you, then I don't know what will be. So, I want to thank you tonight for giving me the opportunity. I'm going to be here, I hope, a number of times in the next few years to work with you. You can reach me through Nina. She has my contact information. If you'd like to come to the States, we have incredible coaching immersion experiences where we take people to different places around the world. Later this year, we will have an event in New York City. And in Singapore, we will have an event with one of the top sommeliers in the world. So in addition to teaching you leadership, we're going to teach you how to drink fantastic wine, which is just as important. But most of all, I want to thank you that you came here tonight and that you're part of this process. I look forward to working with you. And if there's an opportunity where we can work together and I can help you figure out your context in a different way, I'd be happy to do that. Nina, thank you very, very much.